So welcome. I am Alice Keeler. I am a math teacher. I live in Fresno, California, and I have with me as my guest the tech rabbi, Michael Cohen. Michael, you want to talk a little bit about what you do?
Yeah, super excited to have a conversation today with you. As always, I am a director of innovation. I work at a school in Los Angeles, Yeshiva University Boys High School. And my just obsession is ways to infuse creativity into the experiences that our students go through and that our teachers use to support learning.
Oh, yeah, that is awesome. I'm really super into just how do we create engaging schools and how kids would learn math, obviously as a math teacher. So that's something I'm always thinking about. I started teaching math in 1999 with no teaching credential. I graduated in December of 98 and I got hired in January of 99 because they were going 20-1 in California in math and English. So they're just hiring people like crazy, even though we had no teaching experience. And I will just tell you, it's been a 20 years journey of, I'm obviously not as effective walking off of the street my first day as when I've actually gotten in and read some research on engaging students and practices that are good for student learning. So I'm excited to share some of the things I've learned over the last 20 years and from you as well, Michael. So Michael, what would you say is your one best tip for student engagement?
I think trying to find ways that you can empower students to support one another has, for me, been transformational, whether it's working at the lower elementary level or right now at high school. And even when I started my career, I started teaching in higher ed. Giving students the opportunity to answer questions for other students, to help them when they're struggling, is not only giving them a feeling of value and worth, but they're actually demonstrating their knowledge by helping, whether it's a skill or some sort of curricular component. They're showing that they know something. And I think that is a way, especially in the remote learning environment, to really engage our students in our classroom.
Yeah, I really agree with that. I have got my master's online, and I would say this is one of my most engaging experiences. Obviously I went to regular face-to-face high school, and I went to a traditional college. And when I got to do this online program, I expected it to be, more remote feeling. But when you really are able to engage with digital tools, that often gives you opportunities to have voice that you just couldn't have in a face-to-face classroom. In my regular class period, I have 30 students in 45 minutes. The math says that doesn't give every student a lot of opportunity to be able to be heard. And so one of the things that I just really love about using products like Microsoft Teams is giving students that voice. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and switch back to the slides. And, all right. This is one of the things I really like about Teams meeting is it's when you go to share, it says, hey, you have these PowerPoints. Do you want to use them? Yes, I do. It just makes it quick and easy that I'm not digging around for where my PowerPoint is being presented. So we'll go ahead and go through here. So we're going to be talking about student engagement today. And engagement is not free when you use digital tools. I'm sure we've all been in a situation where we've been in a boring meeting that's online or taken some classes. And I've taken amazing classes online, and then I've taken some others that really I would only describe as soul-sucking. And to me, the big difference between those engaging classes and the soul-sucking ones is how much I felt I got to interact with my peers, have conversations, use more open-ended assignments that are more rubric-based rather than just points-based, turn this in, where I got to do group projects and interact with people. That to me is what was really engaging. Michael, have you ever taken an online class?
Yeah, I did my master's in education online. As you can relate, we have families. Getting to a brick and mortar after working a full day is not really in the cards for everybody. So I did an online program, and I've taken a number of online MOOCs. Do they even call those that anymore? But those massive online courses, and it's always been about finding ways that I can effectively build the skill and build the knowledge that I'm seeking out and I'm trying to find. And that variety, I think, is what makes it so attractive versus it being something where, I'm required to sit in front of a recorded lecture or a live lecture. I did an 18-month master's program, and I think maybe 1/8 of that was any sort of recorded or live lecture. It was immersive in projects and collaboration and message boards and working and connecting over video conferencing, really with peers, and really trying to facilitate that professionalism that is so critical in the world of education. And just there was minimal lecture, and there were some name brand universities that I could have had a fancy degree to hang on my wall that were watched thousands of recorded lectures, and then you get that degree.
Yeah, that's personally, I'm about interacting with people. I'm a big networker. I don't like to watch recordings and videos. In fact, for some of my courses that I've taken a whole bunch of online courses, as soon as I see a video and it's 5 seconds of dead air space, and then, hello, today we're going to talk about, oh no, we're not. You have lost me. In fact, if you look at research from Facebook, it shows that you engage the watcher in the first 10 seconds. They decide in the first 10 seconds if they're going to watch. So one of the things that I do when I create videos is I try to make them 30 seconds or less. I try to even do a 7 seconds video. I love short videos because then you don't say, you don't pause, you don't repeat yourself. You feel like, oh my gosh, I got to do this in 30 seconds. So you're more perky, you have personality. And how many times do you, even in 30 seconds or less, mess it up and then you have to restart? Well, if I'm 10 minutes into a video, I'm not going to restart. 30 seconds, it's no big deal. I'm like, it's not what I wanted to say or how I wanted to say it. And I redo it. So one of the things that I've actually tried is I say an entire, whatever it is I want to teach in one take. And then I do it again in short segments. So basically, if you take a breath, stop the video, and you create a playlist. And you can do that right in Microsoft PowerPoint. You can add videos to PowerPoint. So you can put that collection of short videos. But I really like about doing it that way with putting the videos into a PowerPoint is that it's multimedia. So I'm able to add text and other things to augment what the video says. But when you know that you're only going to be like, this video is going to be really short, like 10 seconds short, 30 seconds short, you're much more likely to watch it. Whereas at 59 seconds, videos on Facebook get significantly more hits than ones that are 60 seconds. Once you hit that minute mark, it just starts to decrease with people wanting to engage with it. So that's one of my tips, is thinking about how you can use multimedia with short videos. Okay, which is one of the things that we're going to take a look at today. So I got a research article that I've been referencing for years about student engagement. And one of the quotes that I was able to pull out of that text is, "It is obvious that students live in a world that engages them differently than the world their parents experience." So let's talk about Microsoft Teams. That is huge in businesses, right? When our students graduate from high school, they're very likely going to be working someplace that uses a tool like Microsoft Teams. Michael, do you have any experience with that? What do you guys use it?
Yeah, we're in a really interesting space right now as far as students understanding tools, and not just the tools, but the processes of the tools. So whether or not they use Teams at one job or they end up using Teams for 5, 6, 7 years, it's the way in which you engage in a digital space that Teams will bring value for the students beyond all of the perks of being organized and efficient, having everything in one place, from files to conversations to planning and brainstorming. But it's those words, those descriptors, that I think students really consciously, we need to let them know we're using this because this is what professionals are using. And if you change it for a different platform because that's what that company is going to do, you will succeed and you will really excel if you understand the principles of what these technologies are trying to do.
Yeah, totally. And the thing that I appreciate and frustrates me about using technologies is that it's always changing. So whatever we're exposing our students to today, I can feel fairly confident that, 10 years from now, even if they're using the same platform, it's not going to look exactly the same way. And so one of the ways that we can just help students be ready for the world outside is that they are not scared to approach a new tool. I know when I started teaching, I certainly had no experience with a digital gradebook. I got the keys to my classroom and a God bless you and good luck. And I had to figure everything out. Like, how do I do grades? How do I put them in here? How do attendance? I started in January, so I missed all of the beginning of the year trainings that they may have had around those tools. And I've had several jobs, and I would say for the most part, a significant part of any job is you're going to have to figure out whatever the tools are that particular job uses. But I think giving students an opportunity to use a tool like Microsoft Teams gets them started down that path of here's how I interact with people in a digital space that will be updated. In fact, I had a conversation with some of the people from Microsoft, and they were telling me a couple of things that I cannot tell you that are coming down the pipe that I'm really excited about. And so just allowing us to have those conversations around what are tools that allow us to collaborate and be in a digital world. Teams is a great place to start with that. All right. So today's world, this is from the same article, although it's quoting some different researchers, like one of my favorites, Don Tapscott, who I quoted many times in my master's thesis. Today's world absolutely requires collaborative, critical thinkers, creative and courageous innovators, and true lifelong learners. How do we help kids be lifelong learners? They want to keep learning what we are working with them. So when I teach algebra, how many students at the end of the day is like, I'm so glad this class is over and I never want to look at this again. So I know that's a lot of them, because especially early in my career, I'm very heavy reliant on the textbook. I'm wanting to, I'm following through, I'm giving, who's Bob and why is he carrying 40 watermelons? So been trying to do is really think, how can I engage students in ways that they want to learn more about it? To me, the biggest compliment is when a kid goes home and they want to show their mom they're so excited about the activities that we did. So when you are designing your lessons, look at this collaborative critical thinkers. It's not how I was taught necessarily, and especially in a math class, we're traditionally doing work by ourselves at our desk. And most math problems are actually low critical thinking. DOK1 is where I open the book. It says, here's the formula. It does all the thinking for me. And so thinking is engaging, having to figure things out for yourself. Like, you just get these fist bumps, you're like, yes, when you figure something out, as opposed to just following the steps and getting the right answer. So collaborating and having conversations is really what gets that thinking going. So I literally write collaboration down and DOK when I'm going to make lesson plans, because I really want to keep these at the forefront of my mind, is how am I getting kids to do the talking? So Michael, what's your favorite trick for getting students to engage and start talking during a lesson?
So I think it just starts with trying to identify any level of curiosity. I know it's high risk because it could land flat, but instead of beginning a lesson where I'm going to start lecturing and explaining to you what you don't know, I think it's really important for students to who knows anything about this, who wants to share something, and to spend 10, 15 minutes of an entire unit beginning with the students and their prior knowledge, their interests, ways that they might connect it to their world, their personal life, is it's a 50-50. It doesn't always turn out amazing, but it definitely shows them that you are interested in them as much as you are in you sharing what's in your head.
Yeah, I'm really glad that you shared that. My quick and dirty for lesson planning is start with students thinking. So where I would traditionally write the math problem on the board, where I'm doing the thinking for them, I actually want to pose to them an interesting question and get them to start talking, debating, doing pattern finding, some different things like that. So if you use the 5E's lesson plan model, the 5E's lesson plan model was developed for NGSS, the Next Generation Science Standards. And so it kind of goes along with math and science, but really is quite excellent for all subject areas. So it's a more modern design to lesson planning, and that is engage, explore, explain, extend, evaluate. So I think one of the most things that kind of gets a little hidden, I like to point out, is explain comes third. So it's not that you don't get to talk, it's just that we start with the students engaging and having them talk and explore a concept, and then we bring it back. So let's see how we can use some Microsoft Teams for this. We want to know what makes for student engagement, and Michael and I have been talking about that a little bit already. But if you'd like to later, you can go to alicekeeler.com/engagement. This is the research article that I had been citing from in those last two slides, and then I have some things to build on for the rest of this presentation. So alicekeeler.com/engagement allows us to see what are some things that engage students that we could learn from. And if anyone knows me, is that not only do I love a spreadsheet, but I just love PowerPoint Slides Designer. And so I just put literally as the bullet points from the article, listed out 6 ways that you can engage students. And then PowerPoint is like, hey, do you want these icons to go with it? I'm like, I do. They're so pretty.
Absolutely beautiful.
And so when you look at the 4 C's, I like to reword some of them. So communicate. We all know that some people talk a lot, but communicate little. So communication is not talking. Communication is clearly communicating ideas. And that's one of the things here that I'm just actually really digging about PowerPoint is when I have the students make the PowerPoint, the slides designer really helps them to use less words. It suggests pictures and images to really communicate those ideas in a much more clear and concise way. Michael, what's your rule of thumb for how many words you will put on a slide?
So my nerdy obsession, actually I think I have the book over here, is a book, right here, Multimedia Learning Theory.
Okay.
So this is my nerd. Like if I'm going to read, textbook research right here, this is Dr. Richard Mayer. He's got about 30 years or so of research around how the brain interacts with media, imagery, and then retains information. And I share this in probably any presentation that I give in some way, shape, or form, is that if we are verbally communicating information, we're delivering a lecture, and there are words on the screen, the brain basically knocks itself out and it doesn't retain any of the information. So we're hoping that the students have really solid Cornell note-taking skills, because the brain is basically tricked into focusing on both the verbal and the visual in the form of words, and it cancels out. So by creating visuals, and I mean, as a 10 years in the world of design before getting into education, I was a creative director, designer, taught at Fashion Institute of Design and Merchandising in Los Angeles, which was my first teaching job, and I'm literally blown away at the beauty and the effectiveness and really the intentionality of what is possible with the slide designer and PowerPoint, because this is I'm locked and engaged on it right now, and like I already knew that this is what we were presenting on, and I can't get my eyes off of the icons, trying to pull out information from the visuals. Now I'm a little bit nerdy about it, so maybe not everyone's going to be that obsessed, but you should, people that are watching should just know that like that potential to really look in and seek out more information from visuals is what our brain naturally wants to do.
Yeah, totally. Now, what's the first thing that happens when you give students a device, like a phone, an iPad, something like this? First thing they do, they change the wallpaper. I mean, the customization and feeling like you have some ownership of it is so important. And so when I ask students to do their work in a PowerPoint and they get to use Slides Designer, as silly as that sounds, the fact that they get to customize it and it's not just text on a document really helps out with student engagement. And you'll notice the 4th item on this list is indeed multimedia. So, I've written books about math, and no one loves a spreadsheet more than I do. But I keep finding over the years that the magic is really in presentation slides, because not for me to do the talking, but for the students to communicate their ideas. So if you want to kind of take a little step here. So the first one that it mentioned in the article is around interactivity, that engagement comes from students interacting. And Michael, you and I talked about that, you know, at the beginning with our experiences in online programs. It was that group work. It was the interacting that it's definitely possible in a face-to-face situation, but when you pull in digital items like Teams, where you can organize all of your files, where you can work asynchronously and synchronously, I think it just really makes the group work significantly better and more engaging. Did you experience that?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I think that between the email and the cloud the cloud drive and the LMS that the students are using, like, content is all over the place. Oh, you like put that in the chat of the video conferencing software that you were using, and 3 kids were absent, so you thought you gave it to everybody, and now these kids don't know what's going on. So to be able to have a hub is really what I see Teams as, a hub where, yes, you can go to those locations to get those other things that you've created, but to find it all in one central place where you can be on the video chat and say, oh, hey, go check out these files that I just dropped in here, or hey, we have that chat from last week and week 2 of the webinar series, so you're not going to miss out on what we're talking about now, and then you can catch up there and then come back in. So I think that the potential to be a repository is just really powerful.
Yeah, that's something I'm just really enjoying about Teams, is that, like, you and I were doing this planning for this webinar together. I go to the Files tab in Teams, and automatically it is shared with you. I don't have to do anything special. All of our conversations, all of our chats, and even this video webinar, all in the same place. I'm going to go ahead and screen share my Teams, and here we go. Are you able to see this? This is over here in Teacher View. I'm going to go to the General tab. So Teams is designed around having channels and conversations. So you'll see over here on the left-hand side, it's got the General channel, and then I have channels under it. One thing you'll notice is I have a channel that says Michael. Michael's my student, and it has a padlock next to it, because this is a channel that is just between me and Michael. Some kids would rather die than raise their hand. So being able to create a space where you have those students, like my daughter, she will not raise her hand during class. In fact, I have to really encourage her, like, you need to go tell the teacher if these directions weren't clear, just go ask. She won't. So having research shows that if students can ask digitally, they're much more likely to ask a question. And so I'm able to create this channel, which just with Michael, I can differentiate assignments. I can have conversations and chat with him, check in, see how he's doing. And then I can create a channel per group. So when we talk about organizing that small group work, Microsoft Teams is perfect for that. So what I do is I click on the 3 dots and I add a channel, group 2, and this one, instead of being a standard channel, I'm going to make it a private channel. Next. And that's going to allow me to invite the students who are in that group. So ak.student1, and then we have Mr. Cohen. Actually, I think you were the other Cohen. It'd be real great if I could type. Right? It's real quick and easy to add students. You have to be a member of the team, so I can't invite that one. So before you add them to a channel, you do have to add them to the team, which is really easy in Microsoft Teams. I just click on the 3 dots next to the class title, and I'm able to add a member. So I can add them in. So now this group 2 is only shared with those students that I shared it with, which means that they can have conversations about their project. They can, on the Files tab, create and share things, and anything created on the Files tab is automatically created with the group. It would not be shared with everyone in the class because this is a private channel. And anything created, so I go New, PowerPoint. Now everyone in the group automatically has access to this. And let's see if the web is being nice to me right now and not being super slow, because it's almost uncontrollable to use Slides Designer. So I'm going to click here on the Slides Designer icon, and you can see on the side it gives me some really lovely choices where I can personalize and customize this PowerPoint, which is obviously incredibly motivating to me. I'm engaged with it because I just have such a good time using that. And I know that it's so easy for me to find. I don't have to go dig around for it in OneDrive or someone emailed it to me. All my group members are going to be able to find it right there. And as the teacher, since I made the channel, I can see all the groups work, and I can interact with each of the individual groups and follow up. All right, and so I'm going to go back here, whoops, to my team. And what I really just like about being in Teams is the fact that as soon as I open up, I'm in this chat channel. Each of the groups has a chat channel, so those conversations and interactions. I'm going to go ahead and switch back to the slides. Now I have submitted a request that it would allow me to pick up where I left off. Uh-oh. I am missing the presentation now. So Michael, if you would talk a little bit about your student engagement, I'm going to find, oh, I found it. I'm going to submit a suggestion on that. Okay, so I'm just going to bop ahead a little bit. I really do love Teams meeting. I've requested that we get to use this. It is really nice and easy to share the PowerPoint. And so teams.microsoft.com is one of the ways that you can access Microsoft Teams, and you can install Microsoft Teams as a download application, which is what I'm using right now, but actually I'm also using the browser. So you'll notice that when I shared my screen, I was over in the new Edge Chromium, which I'm going to be honest, I'm really digging. It's got immersive reader, but it's built off Chrome, which is what I've been using for years. So it's a very familiar experience. I would say almost a little cleaner. It's a very nice interface. So I'll actually be using Microsoft Edge in conjunction with the Teams app, because sometimes I'm working on like this PowerPoint, but I needed to read the research article. But I'm able to find it really easily just by going over the browser, going to teams.microsoft.com, and going into the team. And I was able to find where I had uploaded the engagement article for me to look at, to reference to doing on this. So it makes it easy to multitask if I need to. All right, another Slides Designer win. I typed the word activity bell and said, do you want to put this bell on here? I'm like, yes.
So rad.
I'm saying how excited I am about this. So one of the things that I hate is giving students feedback and they don't know it. Like, you put something on my paper? Like, I spent all of this time putting in notes and they don't know. So one of the things that Microsoft Teams does is it has this activity bell that alerts students to these interactions. Interacting is motivating. Feeling like people hardly ever check in. They never use the platform. Nobody's having conversations in there. Then you're like, this place is dead. You know, it's kind of like walking into a restaurant right now. And you're like, there's no one here. That's a bad joke. So, you know, with the activity bell, you're able to see, oh, my teacher has left me some feedback and an assignment. Click on that. It's right here on the left-hand side of Microsoft Teams. You'll see it says activity and chat. And so I had made a little note in the chat, and one of the people in my team, they're able to give a thumbs up. I'm able to see that people are engaging with me around things that I post. Did anyone even read this? Well, we know that's engaging. That's how Facebook makes its money, is understanding that people liking your stuff keeps drawing you back in. And then what Microsoft Teams has is the chat, which I briefly touched on already. When you open up a team, the first thing you're on is on that general channel. And in that general channel allows you to have conversations, ask questions, share multimedia, share images. We know kids are really into sharing a meme. That just creates so much community. And so what I just love about Microsoft Teams is that first focus is on interacting and not necessarily the first focus on what's the assignment. but they make it easy to find that as well. So one of the things that you can do right in Microsoft Teams from the chat when you're going to leave a little message, you'll notice there's all these icons along the bottom. And one of those is to add praise. So just, hey, I just really appreciate you. You can create an awesome praise badge and recognize contributions that students are making to the class. And students can give it to each other. Thanks for being a team player. That was a really creative idea. And there's just ways to really motivate and engage students in the classes when they feel like people are interacting with them. Michael, have you tried these praise badges in Teams yet? Oh, I think you're muted.
Sorry, I was muted. There's music outside, and I didn't want to necessarily share it with the whole webinar. So what I've been really excited about with these badges is that it ties into that whole badge culture that I really hope gets more mainstream, because the idea that you can get credit beyond just a grade or a degree, but that there's actual skills that can be recognized and celebrated, and those can kind of carry with you. So you start to build that culture just inside the environment where a student is one who's constantly supporting one another, and you could have a badge that you give students to recognize that. And then you can develop that culture where, as you said, other students will recognize that as well. Like, I need help, and I know that Joe or Sally are just totally focused on helping us, and I'm better for it. So it sort of shifts from maybe that, what it used to be is which kids can always raise their hand in class and always know the answer, and be that kind of praise and sort of feedback that students seek out. So it's a shift in how we look at praise.
Yeah, I really think that's one of the strengths with Microsoft Teams is giving every student a voice. Every student's able to interact and participate when it can be challenging when you're constrained for time, and you've got extroverts who are so willing to, call on me. And one of my favorite Joe Bowler quotes is, being fast is not the same as being smart. And I know for me, if you ask me a question, it's fight or flight. I just feel like I'm in a panic, and just give me a second, I'm going to remember that. But right now I have no idea what the answer is. And so, asking kids to raise their hand to respond to a question, Joe Bowler says, is giving the impression that what we value is speed over thoughtfulness. And I just really would like a thoughtful answer and response. And so using Microsoft Teams where I can ask a question and all the students can reply, if I put it in the chat or wherever, that they're able to interact with each other. Gosh, I just lost my train of thought. But the students being able to work together is really engaging. So here's where you can see that praise posted into the post page, and you'll see it has this reply right under each of those posts. So what's really great about Microsoft Teams is that it's a real threaded discussion. So if I posted a question, where do you see this math used in the real world, and having kids look through that idea, they're replying to that one, and then a praise is posted, another question is posted, an announcement is posted. That's not stopping another student from I took some time, I needed to think about it, and now I have my response, to going back up in the post stream and be able to reply and engage. Because being fast is not the same as being smart. And just remember that Seinfeld episode with Costanza where he had that really witty response after he got home. And so I think we've all experienced that. And so when you have that, I wish I had said this, Teams allows you to have that moment. So you'll notice from this screenshot is that I'm trying to show that Teams is trying to engage me into having a meeting. Video chat is built right into Microsoft Teams. And so when I'm in a channel, I'm able to click Meet Now. And this just shows up and invites anybody in that channel to join in. So I was meeting with Michael earlier. I just said, hey, he sent me a text, says, hey, I'm ready. I'm like, cool, I'm in the team. I'm in the video meeting. I didn't have to send him a link. I didn't have to send him an email. He just went straight to the team, and he was in that video meeting within seconds. All I just said is, hey, I'm in the team. So I thought that was super cool. And so when you look at any particular assignment, those assignments are posted to the post page. And those little icons at the bottom, one of them is Meet Now. So actually, if a student is having a question around an assignment, they can reply to the assignment in the general channel. And, you know, it is engaging to feel like someone's listening to you and having an answer, but sometimes text, you know, the tone, it just gets lost. And you just need someone to explain it to you. And so if you're not in person, you can click this Meet Now on the assignment in the general channel, and you can engage with students and just help them out real quick and answer some questions over video if you feel like that would be helpful and appropriate at that time. So moving on to Word. Now, I did a Word webinar a couple of weeks ago with Peter Leonard, and I will tell you there's some really cool things about Word that are very exciting and some that are coming down the pike that are even more exciting. I'm not sure I ever thought in my life I'd be excited about Word, but I actually am. So one of the things that's cool about Word is that you can edit together. When you add a Word document into Microsoft Teams, it's that interaction of coming together. We can be in the Word document at the same time. So there's two ways to do that. If you're on the Files tab of any of the channels, those are automatically, by default, collaborative. So I can ask students to join a single PowerPoint to get together, or I can have students working in small groups around a Word document, or if we add a Word document into an assignment, it is automatically shared, not with the whole class, it's automatically shared teacher and student. So I'm able to edit together and give feedback and interact with my students even when they've not turned the assignment in, which I think is super cool. As soon as they add this Word document into the assignment while they're working on it, because you can actually open it up right in Teams. They don't have to leave Teams. They go to the assignment. There's a Word document attached. They click on that. It opens in Teams, and they're able to work on it. But I'm able to, on the teacher's side, go in and access that same document, potentially at the same time. So you'll see here I have a screenshot of a Word document. What you'll notice is this is from the student point of view. If you look in the upper right-hand corner, I have the student icon. Oops. I have the student icon, and then you'll notice here in the center is my icon, my teacher icon. So you can actually see I have the student and the teacher at the same time. All right, so and notice that there is a title, and it needs to be a little bit bigger. One of the things I'm really into is applying styles to your Word documents with the headings to make it screen reader accessible, and so it'll stick out a little bit more, and it also auto-populates an outline if you use styles. So I've said to the student, hey, make this a title style, but what's really neat, do you notice up here at the top, it says conversation? That's huge. Conversation, we're having conversations with kids into a team. This document has a conversation where it's actually the conversation from the post.
Carol Oberg is now exiting.
So it is, I am learning some new things today. You know, those conversations don't happen just in the Word document. Now, this is exclusive to being in Teams. If you collaborate on a Word document through the browser or through the desktop, while you can always add the comments and you can @mention people and you can be in the documents at the same time in word.office.com, if you do it through Teams, it actually allows for this conversation piece where we can keep talking about it without even necessarily being in the document. You'll notice down in the bottom right, I'm getting a notification as the student that the teacher has replied to their comment. And so it keeps the conversation going, that it keeps pulling you back in. So I don't know if you've ever seen that conversation icon. Again, you have to be in Teams in Word. It also does that in PowerPoint and, of course, Excel for you to have these Teams conversations. So I was doing a little pre-webinar meeting with Michael Cohen here, and I just think this is really a neat way to interact with people. I've gone to the team, I've opened up the collaborative PowerPoint. You can see the conversations are right there on the right-hand side. We're having a video meeting, so when I switch over to the collaborative PowerPoint, you'll notice that his video is floating right above there. So the meeting comes with us. So we're actually able to have feedback and conversations around this document as we collaborate on it together. Because collaboration, interaction, students actively working on something instead of just passively taking notes, I think is what makes PowerPoint really awesome. Michael, do you have any comments?
Yeah, just to add on the last slide, I think that the conversation is really about making a student a more capable creator of content. So of course, like any of the other word processing solutions from other companies, you can highlight and comment on this, like this right here needs to be expanded upon, or this right here should be moved around. But to actually have that conversation in video and have it archived as a text conversation where you can say, consider, adding these additional themes, or you should really focus on this one area and expand upon it. It doesn't always have to be tied to a text or a character. So what I end up doing is usually like highlighting the title of their document and then writing that conversation and comment stream, and then it attaches to that, and it's a little bit frustrating. So I think you get sort of the best of both worlds. And then on the slide after this, it's just really being able to have a multifaceted conversation in a way that you could do it before, but it's in like 3 different programs. So you have all these standalone programs and you're trying to tile them and split screen and get the video over here, but then the video gets covered and then you're trying to work in the document. And I think being able to have it all, once again, going back to that hub descriptor, is that central location to just getting stuff done.
Yeah. I think what I really just love about this also is the idea of student voice. I'm really into that. And it's hard. How do you listen to 150 students as a high school teacher? And so this ability to have even if I just post a PowerPoint into the general files tab for everyone to look through, this is what we're going to discuss when we have our team's meeting, get together, video chat. The fact that they can have these conversations alongside of it, and it's not just such a passive activity, I think is really quite fabulous. So explore is another one of the items from the research article that was alicekeeler.com/engagement. And having students explore ideas really increases their motivation. It's not just getting information, but really getting to do the thinking yourself. So I'm going to go back to how I'm having a love affair with Word. And if you go to the references tab, it has this thing called Smart Lookup. So when you click Smart Lookup, it puts the search in the sidebar. And so they can actually search for things. It does a Bing search right in the sidebar. Actually, what this screenshot is not showing is the first thing it did is it showed me all of my recent documents, including PowerPoint. And it said, when I click on the little 3 dots on the documents that it showed in the search, it says, do you want to reuse some content? And it actually let me insert some of my PowerPoint slides right into Word so I can remix. So if I've shared a PowerPoint with students, they're able to take some of those slides, put it into their paper, and comment on the content that I've shared with them as a possibility. And so when they go to the search, if they search something, it's going to be a Bing search. They can actually get that information right there. And you'll notice there's like a little plus icon that will insert that information right into their Word document. So instead of saying, hey, students, this is the quadratic formula, it's 2020. Why do I need to tell them the quadratic formula? That's easily searchable. And so I shift my teaching from telling them information to asking them questions. And my just kind of rule of thumb is don't tell kids things they can look up. So that helps them to be more actively engaged in it because they have to do something to get that information. And they have to synthesize what's important to include into the Word document. Michael, have you used this?
Yeah, I think any time that you can have, I mean, once again, I'm really into user interface and simplicity of design. And when you're able to get students to work on information and creating and curating and then finding the information, I have a love-hate relationship with your absolute truth that you just mentioned of, Googleable learning. If you could Google it in 5 seconds to get the answer, then why are we forcing students to, rote memorize that? I still get pushback from it, especially at the high school level, being bound to AP, SAT, ACT, whatever the acronym is for this memorization experience. I think that it just shows the students how to be more resourceful And at some point in time, though, they will grow up to learn how to use the internet, because many of them don't know how to use it to actually find things. And when you demonstrate to them how easy it is to not just find information, but find it in the context of the work that you are creating and not in one of your 45 tabs that's open, I think it could be really just a boost of, productivity skills for them.
For sure. I teach at the university, and these are people who have graduated from college or are about to. They're in the teacher credential program. And it's not unusual that I have some students in the class who don't know how to highlight. Control C, Control V can really be eye-opening for them. They've graduated from college and they've gotten minimal exposure to technology skills. And the day that they leave my credential class and they go start teaching, someone's going to throw a digital gradebook at them. Like, you for sure will be using digital tools when you get out into the workplace, and to not want to help kids to be digitally literate, I think, is irresponsible. So I like to live in the 21st century, and it is my kids' norm. We have an Alexa and a Google Home, and they just, Alexa, oops, I have one in my office, probably going to respond to me right now. We're sitting at the table, and whatever they're wondering, they don't wonder, they shout it to the universe. Alexa took a little bit of time on that. But they just literally just shout it to the universe. So, they just expect answers to come to them. This is their norm. Their norm is to look things up. How many times a day do you look up things on your phone in the kids? And so let's live in their world and not ours. Looking things up and then doing something with that information. We spend so much time trying to memorize the information. We run out of time to do something. So I would encourage you to take advantage of tools like Smart Lookup, and then ask kids, okay, what does that mean to you? Can you word it in another way? How can you personalize this? And again, thinking is really engaging, I think. So if you are not aware, Microsoft Teams allows you to create assignments. So when you click on the left-hand side, it says assignments. I'm able to choose my class, and I can create a new assignment. It would post that right to the post channel, the general channel on posts, to announce it to them. So it's real easy for them to find and real easy for them to ask the question, because again, it goes right into that channel. Now, I asked Michael, what do you feel like is one of your best tips for engagement? Michael, do you want to share what you shared? And then I made this assignment based on that.
So one of the pieces, assuming I have like 3 or 4 that are constantly running through my head. So hopefully I said the one that I said earlier. But giving students the empowering feeling of being really leaders in the classroom, and leaders not because they know all of the information, but because they can support one another. Was that the one that we were talking about?
No, but I like this one, so keep going.
Okay. You'll remind me when you share the assignment. So the ability for students to have that opportunity to support one another. And I remember it was asking them what they know, right? Was that the one?
Yeah.
Versus yeah. So that, okay. Yeah, I mean, I have 2 or 3, and they work 50% of the time, so it works every time, right? So the ability for students to have an opportunity to showcase prior knowledge, prior interest, and prior understanding before I just start to introduce something as if I am the repository of knowledge, and they could have never heard of this before I spoke about it, I think is a real game changer for them. And when you bring that into an online environment, online conversation, digital environment, it's super transformational to see the way that they can show links and TED Talks that they saw and different experiences that they can share that just really sets the tone, versus it being set because of my sagely ideas. I can't even remember what I told you 40 minutes ago, but like I'm going to be the one to tell them the knowledge for the first time ever, right?
Yeah. All right, so in this example that I have, you'll notice that it says add resources underneath the instructions, but you'll also notice that I've highlighted part of the instructions because I am able to add rich text into a description, which is one of my things that I really love about Microsoft Teams. But when I add resources, I've omitted adding resources. I can give students a template, but I've given them the directions that they're going to choose their medium. And now I'm going to hope that Michael remembers what we talked about.
Now I do remember. You get 3 strikes and you're out. So one of the things that I'm really focused on is ways in which students can express and showcase information in mediums that they're comfortable in. And as much as I love video creation, video editing, presenting in person digitally, not everybody is into that. And so because I'm into it, I might sort of project and create a false value in that medium, where a student could be an incredible author, or a student might want to create, an app prototype, and they're super quick at it. So if I said everyone should make an app prototype, some students it's going to take them 4 hours, another student might take a half an hour. So by saying that you aren't interested in the medium, it can empower them, because, well, don't say you're not interested in the medium. By not requiring or limited the scope of the medium, you are empowering the students to find ways to communicate that they're passionate about, that interests them. And you're also creating variety, because one of the other ways to engage for me is students facilitating learning with other students. And so if you have 30 videos that everyone has to watch and they're all 5 minutes long, that just takes forever. But if it could be an interactive book and an app prototype, and someone created an animation and another student did video, how-to tutorials or whatever it is, you're empowering them, but you're also creating products and artifacts of learning that other students are going to be inclined to engage with, and you can create learning around that extension by giving them that that initial chance to create content the way they want to.
That choice is really big for student engagement and motivation. Like any choice, even if you're just like you can do problems 1 through 10 or 11 through 20, I would really encourage you to just start on any assignment is to give at least one choice, even if it's not a great choice. But allowing students to choose their medium, is a critical thinking skill, really. If you say write an essay in a Word document, it's so obvious to write it in a Word document, but when you leave that off, some students choose to do it in Minecraft. So my daughter, I had her with me, and she was doing this. The assignment was to do a creative writing story. So she was writing, it's Take Your Cat to Work Day, but she did the whole thing in Minecraft where she created signposts all over this virtual world, and then she had a roller coaster, and you would ride on the roller coaster and read all the signposts, and then she built the scenery for all of the parts of her story of Take Your Cat to Work, except the cat ran away. And it's like, it was so creative and so amazing, and just by leaving off the words in Word, to say any medium you choose, just opens up the opportunity. I mean, she went crazy doing this thing. She was so into it. And not everyone's going to enjoy doing Minecraft. So I'm a little biased. Like, do it in Minecraft. Some kids are super excited about that, and others just rolling their eyes at me like, there's no way that I want to. That's not what they're into. What my daughter's really into is digital animation. So I really appreciate you pointing out those nuances of just really valuing what kids are into. All right, so we are coming to the end of the time, and I want to open it up if anybody has any questions, whether any in the chat or if anyone wants to turn on their microphone.
Hi, Alice.
Hi.
Hi, Michael. I'm Sarah.
Here.
I actually am really glad you brought up Minecraft. I see huge possibilities for integration here with teams. Like I wish I was with, I actually just sent you a message. My 5th graders who I've used Minecraft with for at least 3 years are doing their little graduation this year in Minecraft, and they're getting to work remotely, and they're connected, and they wouldn't have been able to do that back like 5 years ago when I was using the Mojang version. So I'm curious if there will be some sort of integration of that, because the integration I've seen tonight is amazing.
Yes. If I knew that, I wouldn't be able to tell you, but I can honestly say I don't know that. But I think that you can have some actually really nice integration with Minecraft and just about any tool using Microsoft Teams, because there's a couple of ways to use Minecraft, right? When I am in a world and I build like a tutorial or something where I want students to engage and explore around, I export the world. It downloads as an MC World file. Well, I can upload any file here into Teams. So where it says add resources, I can add that MC World file, and the students would download that to their computer. It says import. It comes in pretty easily, and they're able to now engage and explore around in that world. Now, that is an individual, right? It's a copy per student, and they are going to take evidence of their learning and submit that back into Teams. So you may not know this about Minecraft Education Edition, is it has what's called a portfolio and a camera, and so they can take pictures while they're in Minecraft, and it's going to automatically save to their portfolio. And there's also a book and quill, so they can create pictures and text and really design the whole story of what they're doing there. But both of those export to a PDF. Well, shoot, that's super easy for students to upload right back up into Microsoft Teams. Now, if you are in a collaborative environment, which Minecraft Education Edition does allow you to do, you are able to host your world, and you're going to then just put into one of the chats, right, the posts stream, and tell the students, like, it's going to be Steve Railroad Tracks Agent. So it has a series of pictures, cookie. It picks 3 of these or 4, depending on what version you have, and you just tell the kids what pictures that they're going to join with. So they click join, they click on the 3 or 4 pictures that's shown there, and now you're all able to be in the same Minecraft world together to collaborate. So just that communication piece of getting there, Teams is really great for that. All right.
Well, in case we scared off any of the other teachers who haven't used Minecraft yet, the great news is if you didn't understand that, the students can teach you, because that's how I learned.
I mean, that's really the best part, is you don't have to know Minecraft. In fact, I know several teachers that if I asked them to walk around in a Minecraft world, they would just not be able to. They've never done it. But then they just keep telling me about all these projects their students do in Minecraft. If you're just welcome to letting kids video record or take screenshots and to build the story to submit their work as a presentation, anyone can teach with Minecraft. So,
Thanks for all that.
Absolutely. Anybody have any Teams questions or non-Teams questions that we can answer before we finish up today?
I do have one. Andrea from Charlotte, North Carolina.
Andrea?
And I want to thank Alice for hosting, and thank you, Tech Rabbi, for joining us. One of the things, Michael, that you had mentioned is to that students understand the tools, but also the process, and to let them know why we're using these tools. And one of the reasons that I teach, I'm an elementary tech teacher. One of the reasons that I teach my 4th and 5th grade students Google Classroom is because most of the schools that the kids will go to from our day school are using Google Classroom. So I want them to get into middle school fully prepared and way ahead of everybody else. It wasn't very difficult for me to sell Google Classroom to my school. And now that I see Microsoft Teams, and I've been using it just a little bit over the past couple of weeks, now I'm thinking that maybe we should head in this direction. One of the things that our tech person at school told me was that it really slows down the laptops and the Chromebooks that we have for the students. So my question to either or both of you is, what kind of negatives do you see from Microsoft Teams so that I can be ready to answer those negatives when they come up? And every tool has a great use. So I love Google Classroom for many, many uses, and now I love Microsoft Teams. I feel like, oh my God, I've got to pick one. So what?
I am good with both of those products, and I just have these twinges that I love the interactivity of Teams. It's just really my favorite part, and I look forward to using Teams. I'm like, oh, I'm gonna make a team. Like when I'm gonna collaborate with someone, like I don't just create a document to share with them. I want to create a team. Like I find myself wanting to do that. But if you are in an environment where you can use both, just so you know, on the application, you can add a tab to the general, actually any of the channels, and you can add the classwork page of Classroom, so you can actually use both if your school allows you to.
Wow.
But you wanted to know, technology is going to be flawed. I think this is actually one of the things that's an advantage, is to teach students to be resilient. I know every day I'm obviously a big tech user, and something's not working, it doesn't load, I have to restart my computer 3 times. I don't think this is specific to Teams. In fact, I have really good success with Teams working. I very rarely have a problem with it crashing or glitching or anything like that.
Yeah, I mean, I would just add that I think they're pretty even. If you look at the bandwidth of what what resources, whether it's using the direct computer memory or the actual internet bandwidth between Teams, which gives you the entire experience of the chat and the docs that you might be using, PowerPoint, and then the conversations and video, versus having Google Classroom, Google Meet, YouTube, and all the Google Docs that you would be working on as individual tabs in a browser. I would say they're probably pretty even on the amount of resources they're going to designate.
Oh, good point. One of the things that that really came to me was this afternoon. I had one of my 5th grade students said, I'm having a problem with Storybook that. Can you Zoom with me? And I didn't get her email because I was fixing something else. I got her email 15 minutes later, and I emailed her back and I said, oh, okay, yeah, I'm free now. She didn't get that until two hours later. And I thought, wow, Microsoft Teams would have really fixed this.
It really would have. I mean, I have the app on my phone. It notifies me. And that activity bell works across all the classes. So I'm able to find those notifications that a teacher has returned work, that a teacher has left feedback and chatted. And obviously, since I am the teacher, I get those questions from students and everything, that I don't feel like there's this lag. So when we talk about student engagement, definitely lag between trying to engage with someone and someone actually engaging with you is significantly impacted your student engagement, right? Your engagement with it. Like at a certain point, you just stop caring if it goes too long.
I still haven't engaged with her, and it's probably lost on her now. Yes.
Yeah. So
you're absolutely right. Yes.
And really appreciate participating with us, and I appreciate everybody for coming to join us to think about how can we engage students, whether it be through team or just anything that we kids. Engagement is so important. So thanks everybody, and have a good.
Thank you.
Thank